Michael Saylor's insane Bitcoin strategy has gone nuclear, and now the rest of the world is copying the playbook. From Trump media planning a $2.5 billion Bitcoin buy, to Jack Mallers and Tether launching a Bitcoin native megacorp with over 42,000 BTC, to Metaplanet, GameStop, SoftBank, and even Russia's biggest bank issuing Bitcoin bonds. It's official. The Bitcoin standard and Saylor's strategy is going global. And if Larry Lepard is right, this is the path to $7 million Bitcoin. Welcome back, I'm Rustin, and today we're diving into the greatest financial revolution of our lifetime. Send it!
95% of all Bitcoin's been mined, but 95% of the world doesn't own Bitcoin. So I just think that there's still a huge demand versus supply imbalance, meaning there's a lot more potential buyers of Bitcoin over the next 10 years. And so I think there's a lot of upside into year end.
Into your like 150 target?
Yeah, 150, maybe 200, even 250 this year.
What? 150 to 200 to even 250. And what's your, you don't have a terminal price on that, do you?
Well, it's, I think at a minimum it should have the same network value as gold. Mm-hmm. And if you look at above ground gold, it's probably 23 trillion. So that would be, 1.2 million for Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin is more valuable than gold. So, gold, Bitcoin could be 2 million, 3 million long term. Even higher.
The blueprint is simple. Stack Bitcoin, get rich, and repeat. Strategy's market cap has rocketed past $80 billion by just buying Bitcoin. Now the mimics are multiplying. All these unheard of no-name zombie companies, there's too many to count, but we have Trump media raising $2.5 billion to ape in. GameStop dropped $500 million on Bitcoin and got punished short term. 21. Jack Mallers, Tether, and SoftBank, 42,000 BTC to start, already making it the number 3 largest corporate holder overnight. And Saylor, he's cheering them on. Quote, everywhere I go, someone's launching a Bitcoin treasury company. Orange flags are being planted everywhere on Earth. The financial revolution is no longer just American. It's planetary. Let's be clear, Bitcoin has now breached the halls of power. Trump's strategic Bitcoin reserve executive order made it official. The US government is not selling its seized Bitcoin ever. It's now permanent sovereign money. Nigel Farage wants the Bank of England to hold Bitcoin. That's right, Bank of England is on the brink of Bitcoin.
I'm thrilled to be here today, but to announce that rather than just words, we have put together, and this is exclusive for today, the Crypto Assets and Digital Finance Bill.
Months of work, ladies and gentlemen.
We will campaign for this, and we'll put it in place when we win the next general election. And what we're saying is bring crypto and digital assets in from the cold. Have a capital gains rate of 10%. And that means, if taxes are reasonable, people will pay them. We're going to have a Bitcoin digital reserve in the Bank of England. And we are going to pass legislation that says that no bank can close your account because you're trading in legal crypto or digital products.
No more debanking, ladies and gentlemen.
So yeah, we are taking it very, very seriously. And it's really interesting. 7 million people in Britain have got crypto assets. 1 in 4 people under 30 have got crypto assets. And yet our outdated Labour and Conservative governments have done nothing in this space at all. And what I want to do when we win the next election is bring us into the 21st century. We are going to launch in Britain a crypto revolution. We're going to make London one of the major trading centres of the world. We're deadly serious, and here it is.
Vice President J.D. Vance just spoke at the Bitcoin conference, and the orange wave just keeps rising.
The value proposition of Bitcoin is that it can serve the same function, but in a digital age, a way that's secure, that's safer from fraud, that allows people to buy and sell and store value, but in a way that's consistent with the modern technological age that we live in. Now, having said that, I fully accept there are risks to all of these things. There are always risks to new technologies. Our approach in the Trump administration is to say, let people innovate. Let people figure this stuff out on their own. If the critics of Bitcoin are right, I happen to think that they're wrong, that will eventually win out in the marketplace. If the advocates of Bitcoin are right, and I happen to agree with them, if they make their case, that's eventually going to win out in the marketplace. What you shouldn't have is a dictatorial government that tells certain industries they're not allowed to do what they need to do. You've got to let people make these decisions on their own, and that's sort of been our approach. We want common sense regulatory regimes. We want to allow the cryptocurrency industry to participate in the mainstream of the economy. But then ultimately, the laws that...
GigaChat ain't slowing down either. 705 more BTC this week at 106K per coin. They now hold over 580,000 BTC with a 16.9% yield year to date. And now we have challengers. Metaplanet just bought 1,088 more Bitcoin, crossing 8,888 BTC and overtaking Block. Russia's Sberbank is launching Bitcoin structured bonds, and Mahler's just raised another $685 million to buy even more Bitcoin for 21. This isn't a trend anymore. It's a flood. How does that saying go? As in the days of Noah, so it shall be. You know what that means? Get on the damn ark. Now, Wall Street is confused. GameStop stock dropped, Trump media tanked. But let me ask you, did Bitcoin drop long term when Saylor started stacking? No, it went vertical. Even Saylor says the market wanted them to buy more. And when it comes to volatility, Bitcoin always dumps before a major pump. All right, the next segment is what I like to call the Orange Truth Bomb Zone, where macro minds, hedge fund titans, and even former Fiat defenders are all singing in the same tune. Bitcoin is inevitable.
The biggest problem the U.S. has, right, is that we're seeing the whole world wake up to the fact that the U.S. dollar cannot be trusted. That's the biggest issue that we have. And when you then look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is trustless. It doesn't need to be trusted, and that's really what will drive forward in the innovation here eventually over the long run. Is that you have that base asset or currency that you can now trust without worrying about it being debased, it being seized, or it being frozen or locked away from you. So that's really, that's a big deal for the U.S. and embracing that and pushing forward on it quickly is, that's really important in my opinion.
Lavish is dead on. Trillions are running from fiat into hard assets, and Bitcoin is the apex predator. Nothing stops this train.
Basically, nothing stops this train, as Lynn Alden always says, and not even Tether. Tether cannot fix what a century of fiat democracy ruined. There's been a century of inflation, a century of debt, a century of liabilities piled up, and you're not just going to find an enormous number of bag holders that are going to be able to buy this. Ultimately, I think another point that is often ignored here is that a lot of the new demand, a lot of the demand that is coming for Tether is displaced demand. A lot of it is coming from people who are giving up on financial instruments that would have demanded treasuries otherwise. In other words, when a currency collapses and people in that country start using Tether, they're decreasing the demand for treasuries by the central bank of the government whose currency has collapsed. So it's not entirely new demand. And even if it were entirely new demand, even if we assume that 80% of it, as we did in the previous example, we still see that the impact on the debt situation in the US is not likely to be significant. It's not likely to make a significant difference because the amount of budget deficit is enormous and it's continuing to grow, and the debt and the interest are continuing to grow, and it won't touch the entitlements, it won't touch the defense spending, and so therefore all of this new extra demand is not really going to make a big difference. It's ultimately no way to escape the inevitable fate of default devaluation, or default by devaluation, which are essentially all more or less the same thing, that a lot of people who are owed a lot of liabilities are going to find out that they're not going to get what they want from them. So this is ultimately what I think is more likely. Yes, it can help the fiscal position of the US government that more and more people are buying Tether, but I don't think it will make that big of a difference.
This isn't just a market cycle. This is the end of Fiat's monopoly on power. Debasement is the only tool left, and Bitcoin exposes it.
The beauty of Bitcoin is the fixed supply. You know, I think people talk about Bitcoin as the digital gold, but if gold 10x tomorrow to be worth 30,000 an ounce, everyone and their mother would pick up a pickaxe and go look for gold, and I would bet we'd find a lot more gold. If Bitcoin 10x tomorrow, 25x tomorrow, 100x tomorrow, there is a fixed supply. It's beautiful, it's scientific, it's written in code, and we know that. So I want to keep betting on this industry, betting on this space.
You hear that? That's not from a pleb on Twitter. That's a $14.8 billion firm getting poetic about Bitcoin's code. The TradFi elite is catching up.
I'm telling you right now, everybody in the world wants Bitcoin. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're, royal families. I don't care if you're the biggest, financial institutions. Everybody wants Bitcoin. Everybody is buying Bitcoin. If you go back 12 months, there were probably less than 100 companies that were treasuring Bitcoin that really had any. And now every single day, it's another sovereign wealth fund. Look what GameStop just did. Look what Truth Social did. Every single day, people are allocating billions and billions of dollars to it. 0.1 Bitcoin is going to be worth an absolute fortune. And, look at the OTCs. The OTCs have the least amount of Bitcoin ever on their books, right? I mean, the arrow's going straight down as the price of Bitcoin is going straight up.
We may not like it, but when Trump's son is orange pilling the globe on stage, the game has changed. It's cultural now.
Where do I get this idea that Bitcoin could hit $1 million? So if we think about QE for poor people, banks lending more into the real economy, I estimate that could be up to $3 trillion of bank credit that will be created between now and 2028. The statistic to look for is on the weekly Federal Reserve balance sheet, other deposits and liabilities. We'll see that happening there. If the banks are allowed to buy treasury bonds, it's estimated that $900 billion of foreign demand could evaporate. And that has to be replaced by commercial banks who now can buy these treasuries with infinite leverage. And finally, let's free Fannie and Freddie and bring $5 trillion of liquidity to the markets, which gets us close to $9 trillion printed or between now and 2028. And let's put this into context. During COVID, the COVID stimulus programs and all the aid that was given to the financial sector within the United States totaled about $4 trillion. And from the lows of March of 2020 to 70,000 in 2021 in November, we went up about 10x. Remember, price is set on the margin. It matters about the much larger marginal price, not the whole stock. And so if we have less Bitcoin on exchanges due to ETF demand, and we're printing double the amount of money between now and 2028 than when we did till COVID, then Bitcoin $1 million is just easy.
Arthur doesn't just throw numbers around for fun, and now he's saying $1 million per coin is easy. You're not that early anymore, but you're still in the window. And that brings us to the final prophecy. But before we bring it home today, look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe. I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp while we bring you a special message from our sponsors over at the Bitcoin Way. Is that money in your bank account really yours?
So that was the lesson that I learned, that the money in a bank is not, first of all, it's not money, okay? It's worthless toilet paper that is printed by a bunch of psychopaths on a whim. They want money, they hit a button, they print it. You and I have to go work for it, right? So the fiat system, I learned, was simply created for theft, control, and surveillance. Nothing more. And when you live through an experience like this, there's no force in this universe that's going to change your mind about this fact, right? So, but most people that still live in privileged countries, especially like in the West, in the US, in Europe, where everything still works, okay? You listen to a story like this, it might shock you or affect you in the moment, but after the conversation is over, your life is pretty much still unchanged and you go on about it as if nothing happened. But the Ponzi that's going on in the background is not stopping. See, the reason why economically things are so bad worldwide is because the money printer has gone absolutely insane. Inflation, a term almost no one has heard of before, all of a sudden now everybody knows by heart. When they walk into a supermarket and prices are like absolutely ridiculous, it's inflation. Who's causing this inflation? If you listen to the mainstream media and politicians, it's the greedy companies. They're just hiking up their prices because, they just want to make more money, right? And the general population, those that are not paying attention and just, swallow the Kool-Aid, well, they believe this garbage. And, their instinctive reaction is to work harder because that is the right approach. Again, another bullshit lie that we were fed since the day we were born. The fiat system is a rigged system. You cannot win in this system. It is designed to destroy you financially. It's a system created to steal, right? It's like when you go to a casino, what are the odds of winning? Less than 1%. But yet everybody goes because they think they're smarter than the next one. And, they're going to give it their best. And, and sooner or later they come out also empty-handed. So thinking that you have to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 jobs to keep up with inflation is insane because you're hoping that you're going to beat the rate of debasement, which is just not going to happen. Because one, there's only a number of hours in a day, and two, you need to sleep at some point, right? So it's not like you're a machine that can keep going on forever. So if you think you're going to make more money to beat the rate that this bucket is leaking, that's a losing game.
Want to get into Bitcoin, learn self-custody, how to run a node, and so much more? Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the Bitcoin Way using that link in the show notes. You guys ever try to explain to your friends that the century of central banking was the century of endless wars? And they just roll their eyes and ask if you caught Rachel Maddow last night. Well, all your lonely days are gone, my friends. Thanks to the Orange Pill app, you can stack friends who stack sats. It's the ultimate hub to connect with fellow Bitcoiners. Find meetups and discover every Bitcoin conference happening near you and across the country. Bitcoin is better with friends, and now you can zap them instantly all in one app. What are you waiting for? Download the Orange Pill app today, go hit a local meetup, and who knows, the connections you make could last a lifetime.
I think we're easily, in 5 years' time, we're easily at kind of 300, 500, something like that. But if it, you could get a swing where it just goes much, much higher than that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's entirely possible that we have a, here we go. Yeah, it's on page 293 for anyone following along with me. So the 5-year power line model shows the trend line in 5 years, and this was from last year, so maybe you'd have to move it up a little bit from this. 5 years would be at 326,000. But this is interesting. One standard deviation up is 667,000. Two standard deviations up is 1,853,000. And by the way, Bitcoin has traded at 2 standard deviations above its trend line mean, many times. So not many times, but in each cycle. I think there have been 5 of them. And then 1 standard deviation down is 180. So, in 5 years, I mean, I could easily see it be $500,000. In 10 years, the trend line is $1 million. So that would $1.1 million actually. So that and the 1 standard deviation up is 2.2, and 2 is 6 million. Now, typically, if you look at it historically, and 2 standard deviations above the trend line, it doesn't generally stay there for very long. It spikes up, as we all know, and then it corrects. So, but in 20 years, the trend line is 7 million. So, I mean, these are some big numbers, and that's what happens when you compound something out over, year after year. I mean, it is a scarce asset, and there is a large amount of fiat money that's going
in 2 miles, continue onto Ohio Turnpike west toward Cleveland.
It really is. And, that's, I'm sure you're familiar, it's in the book too, Jesse Meyer's chart on, just the total available market. There's $9 trillion, there are $9 trillion of fiat things out there, if you include real estate, 900 trillion. Yeah, what's Bitcoin, 2.1 trillion today?
If you're sitting there thinking that's wild, remember, Bitcoin went from 0 to 112K in 15 years. The next 20? We might need a new numerical system. Why does Larry see $7 million Bitcoin in the near future? Maybe it's because Fiat is dying, governments are printing, and treasuries are converting. And the digital gold standard is here. Don't get left behind and don't miss Mining Disrupt 2025. That's right, they're at it again. And the biggest Bitcoin mining conference on the planet is headed to the Bitcoin mining capital of America and possibly the world, Dallas, Texas. Get ready, Bitcoin is taking over November 11th through the 13th. The Simply team will be on site and we hope to see you there. Grab those tickets today and don't forget to use promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off. Michael Saylor's strategy wasn't just genius, it's contagious. The dominoes are falling, corporate, political, global. This is the moment. And remember, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. It's not just buying pressure anymore. It's game theory gone parabolic. Send it! Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp by sharing the Sound Money Gospel. And set those notifications for the best in Bitcoin delivered to you daily. We got a lot more coming your way this week, so keep your head on a swivel. And I'll catch you all next time. Love you guys. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.